Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. One of the important lines I can say, and we have called one of the important star, I can say, among us, because he is a very distinguished person in himself in terms of learning what he is doing for the humanity and what the prospect he is thinking. That is a very important point. Llewellyn Sir, he is a CEO and a founder and a co-founder of Robo Bionics Limited, worked as an incubator in IIT Patna, then his master's from IIT Patna and bachelor's from University of Mumbai. Welcome to have you, sir, on this podcast session.
Thank you, Rajat.
Sir, could you please tell your educational journey, that how you have started, what motivates,
Yes,
what are the motivations behind this?
sure. So I hail from a suburb of Mumbai known as Vasai, and was born and brought up here. Uh, Further which it was a lifelong dream to be an engineer. So that's how I enrolled myself as a mechanical engineering graduate, so that in the future I could either take into the domain of mechatronics or aeronautics. And as my calling decided, I went in after my after my graduation, after a year and a half of working in a project management company. I went ahead to pursue my master's in mechatronics from IIT Patna. So when I joined IIT Patna, it so happened I had a batchmate of mine who had a missing hand from birth. And due to this, it seemed a little off to me that he's come all the way to IIT Patna to study, and why isn't government or anyone helping him out? So on further talking to him and getting to know him, I came to know that it was not that people were not ready to help. It was that the devices that were there in the market were designed more for people who had lost their hand due to a traumatic incident like an accident. So he, based on his feedback, he mentioned that the devices were quite heavy and a bit on the complicated side to use. So I took it upon myself in the starting to him, which would make him feel much less dependent on someone else to do certain two-handed tasks. And that's how the concept for Robo Bionics began. Now, during the preparation of the first prototype for him, my co-founders started helping me out way back then for this project. My project was converted into a full-time project for my master's program, where I would not just design and develop a device for him, but also I would be writing my thesis on the same. And during this development, it took close to a year. But when I seen him work with the device, when my team seen him work with the device, they were really happy with the way it came out. And because of this, two of my co-founders came to me and told me that, Llewellyn, we should not limit this to one person. We should not limit it to a lab in a IIT. We should do something about it. Fortunately, the incubation center had just started accepting proposals at IIT Patna, and we had to spend a few sleepless nights to understand what it would be to get into a startup, and hence write a business proposal. So we got to working on it, submitted our idea. I think 3-4 months later, after 2-3 rounds of rigorous screening, we were selected. And that's how Robo Bionics actually came into being.
So officially, they are helping you out, means financially also. That what is the concept? I just want to know regarding the incubation center, because many students are there who knows that what is incubation center, but what are the facilities or what are the priorities they are providing you at that point of time when you have just started?
Yes. So all incubators have a different concept. Specific to Incubation Center of IIT Patna, uh, they have a seed funding amount of 10 lakh rupees so that you can start up basic operations. Other than that, they assist in technical side of development. They will eventually also start helping in the other business operations as well. But since it's based in IIT, they have a good amount of lab infrastructure. So most of your testing, most of your development. So that is the place where I was able to grasp the concept of 3D printing, wherein with they have a tremendous amount of technical support. So our early PCB development, the PCB manufacturing was able to be done in house. If you actually try to get PCBs done from vendors right now at the initial stage, everything has a lead time of close to 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
So you save up on a lot of time, and the development is fast. So if there's anything which goes wrong, you can immediately scrap it and move on to the next stage. Other than all this technical lab supports, the 3D printing, we have access to some of the best mentors that they have. So
All
one
are from the
mentor
IIT Patna. All are from the IIT Patna.
so they have in-house mentors as well, and there are mentors from outside also. So there was a mentor from he was a physician from AIMS Delhi. I think right now they have also in some way collaborated with AIMS Patna. I'm
Yes.
not too sure about this, but
No,
if required, they can
they are
try
working.
and bring on board mentors from other areas as well. So these mentors help in a way wherein they help you understand what exactly that you want to develop. Just having idea in mind is not sufficient unless and until that idea is actually solving a problem.
The current project.
Yes. So the prosthetic hand is our very first project, and it was launched in February this year at the Global Bio India program, and was also acknowledged by our cabinet minister Shri Piyush Goyal. Other than this, once we launched it, we were able to work with the social welfare department of the Bihar government, wherein we could deliver a pilot order to them. And right now, we are working with other state governments, wherein we can also help them out in getting this product out to as many people as possible. Now, once we actually commercialized this, we noticed that there were a few more pain points that were present. So, in order to solve those pain points, we have a second product which is coming out, which is known as Brawn Band. And this is a muscle band which is supposed to tell a prosthesist. So the people who fit hands and legs are known as prosthesists. Now these prosthesists have a really limited amount of time because there are just a few number of prosthesists for lakhs of people who have had amputations, and because of that they have to right now rely on pressing manually on the places where they think a sensor placement would be ideal, and sometimes the placement doesn't go too well, so they have to repeat that process over and over again. Now what we have done is broadband is a tool to help empower them, wherein they can this kind of fitments or measurements in one single go. A prosthetic hand is for people who don't have a hand. People who have a hand but are not able to move it with the required power, this device will help them out in therapy or rehabilitation in that sorts of ways. So these are the two parallel projects we are working on as well.
So means I just want to know that what are the challenges which when you have started your entrepreneurship journey. So how come these ideas? Because when you are working, there are two or three ideas which you have in the mind. So how you have choose the best idea, and after the process, after when you are starting in the incubation, there are some challenges which you have to face. So what are the challenges and how you have overcome with the whole process?
So one of the major challenges is about a ecosystem, the presence of an ecosystem. So a key problem what we face is when we need to source parts. It is easier to get samples. You need samples to test and then finalize it before you fit it into your final product. So uh, we do have a lot of manufacturers in India, but more than manufacturers we have what is known as suppliers, distributors. So when trying to source the right parts, it is very difficult to get in touch with a manufacturer directly here. They tend to route you through distributors. And when you talk to distributors, most of the times they will talk to you only in volumes. Being a startup, going into volumes is a very difficult scenario because you are not sure if that is actually going to be used in your final product or not. And it is there is an option wherein you take the assistance of a design consultancy firm or a product design firm, but we felt that we had the right expertise to design these devices considering we were trained in this domain, and hence we took it upon ourselves. So the way we were able to mitigate this is we initially started contacting vendors overseas, getting samples from them. And once the samples were tested, we prepared our spec sheets and we circulated it to vendors in India. So that is a way we were able to break through this issue about volume requirements. Another problem is in terms of business. So there is our government has put in a lot of efforts to make starting up easy, but for startups, after starting up, also running the business, the compliances have become a very, very big task. So one of us from the co-founders had to very regularly sit down with either the legal team or the compliance team, whom we take help from, and ensure that all these compliances are met. And in spite of that, in the initial phases, there were some things which used to get missed out. So that is a big challenge for us even today. And we are looking at how we can sort it out. There are numerous tools nowadays available compared to that were there 4 or 5 years ago. But this still seems to be a challenge right now. And finally, we are from a medical space. So getting funding here is not very easy. Fortunately, the government has BIRAC, has set up BIRAC, that is
Right.
gives out funding. So we have been able to pick up 2 grants from them, and with that assistance, we have been able to get one product entirely commercialized and 2 products already in the pipeline.
So means several, even the state universities can help you overcome. Means this is a, I can say a public
In
help.
terms of help, I mean, technical assistance is quite limited that we would require. What help we require now is more or less from
Financially.
universities that deal in these in this the differently abled. So, for example, you have the uh, N- NIOH in Ahmedabad, you have CMC in Vellore. So, such kinds of institutes are specialized in these domains. We are reaching out to them right now so that we can even take their feedback for the future developments, and possibly have trials done with them too.
So we needs have whenever you have started in this now comes to the mechatronics part. As a student, when we are graduating and if we are thinking that we just want to do some research in mechatronics, what are the industrial aspects, how it goes, and what are the means you are means in India, what is the exactly the aspect of mechatronics right now in which we are staying? Because pre-COVID there are some changes, but after the post, well, COVID which is going on, but we can say pre-COVID and post-COVID every time. Whenever every year it comes, and after that only after 4 or 5 months we say post-COVID. But uh, post-COVID, what are the scenarios which you find in mechatronics and the development?
So, pre-COVID, we had concepts of smart cities, we had concepts of contactless interactions, but post-COVID, so post-COVID, this has become a necessity. So, uh, drone development has been accelerated. Contactless kind of interactions, wherein you drop ship, etc., have been pushed forward. Now, all these things require not just domain expertise of one domain, but they do require mechatronics engineers, because it's a very simple thing. For example, if I take an example of a ship. So you have boilers, which are an essential part of it, and an instrumentation engineer will say, I need so many nozzles to be put inside for measurement purposes, and the mechanical engineer will tell him, no, you cannot have so many nozzles placed because it will damage the structural integrity of it. So you have these two engineers going at each other's throats, and the only person that can solve this issue is a person who is well versed with both the domains. So there comes in a mechatronics engineer, the way out of it. These such applications will take place in almost everyday's things that we use. For example, in automobiles, in drones, in robots, and that is why the demand for mechatronics should be going up. But at the same time, the industry is not very well aware about the kind of mechatronics courses or what you say, the curriculums that are present in the country right now. So because of that, there is a supply and demand problem which is taking place. But I think a little time later, this also would be going out of the way, and mechatronics engineers will be able to get really well placed.
So, one question which is related to it right now: are you recruiting for the students, or are you are going for the search of the recruitment purpose?
So we were recruiting. We were recruiting a while ago, and we have completed that.
Because right now in my mind there are 2 or 3 guys who are working on the mechatronics, and we thought
Okay.
that if there is any startup, or if there is any company which is related to the same thing.
Because they are a little more well versed in dealing with the anatomy of the body. Mechatronics engineers we will need for our next set of developments that may happen a year or two later on.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. So, what kind of environment which you find in IIT Patna as compared as an incubator, and apart from when you have done your bachelor's in University of Mumbai, so what sort of the environment which you are finding in terms of technical aspect and technological development?
Okay. So a very key aspect is during my bachelor's in University of Mumbai, you are mostly a daytime scholar. So the time you have to access your labs, etc., is very limited. On the other hand, not just for the incubation center, but as a student of IIT, I do have access to the labs that I need 24/7, of course, with supervision or permission. But most of the times it is accessible to me very easily. So this gives my creative thinking a big boost, and because most of the times ideas hit into your heads when you're actually not working hard on them. It's when you're at some moment of leisure and you need to quickly understand whether does it work or not. So you run off to your lab, you make something that actually looks like what you thought of, and you see whether it works or not. This gives us a big boost compared to any other ecosystem present uh, around your local areas. So The second part is since you have startups, different types of startups present in the same area, uh, and you have different domain experts. Because of this, what happens is when I hit a roadblock, sometimes it may so happen that a person who's working in IT on another project may be able to give me some sort of valuable insight on how to mitigate my problem. So it has happened in the past that we can, cross discuss our problems with each other and brainstorm a way out.
At the last, I just want to know regarding the uh, because there are some problems which a student right now facing due to the employment issues and everything which is related to it, and they want, and India is slowly and steadily they are working for their research and development purposes. So, any suggestions that they have thought in the mind that they want to start some startups in terms of their means of product designing and like your ideology, there are some different ideas are there. So some suggestions to the students who are, want to become an entrepreneur and or the students who are does want to work for the research prospect in this prosthetic area and the bioengineering, I can say. So any suggestions?
I do know a few problems. For example, uh, when we come to when a person is injured or hurt, most of the times, first they go on to a doctor, and the doctor then recommends a therapist. Now, like I mentioned in case of prosthesis, uh, these therapists also are very limited in number, and they can only try and tell you. So, whenever you go to a therapist, they will recommend a few exercises, and they will tell you go home and do it, 5 times a day or thrice a day. And it's our human nature that the moment we start feeling a little bit better, we start ignoring those activities. So development of such devices wherein so we had spoken to a startup in Korea because we were trying to partner with someone to take our device over there as well. So when we spoke to this partner, they were also working on a similar idea wherein they would devise a hardware that could be given to a patient, and a therapist or a person who was actually prescribing these exercises would exactly be able to track whether the patient is doing it on time or not. And there could be an alert system so that the patient is reminded on time. And to keep the thing more interesting, there is gamification also of these systems, which keeps the activity a bit more interesting. So if I need to, for example, I need a therapy in terms of walking, and simply staring at a blank wall and walking does get boring after a while. So on the other hand, if I have some sort of a kind of a gamification wherein let's take an example of how popular PUBG was. So if I love PUBG and I'm just in terms of AR, I'm given a character to play, but I have to actually move my legs instead of fiddling with buttons. The user is automatically immersed into that kind of an environment, and it not only helps in rehabilitation, but it also gives him the motivation he needs. Of course, there were problems of addiction, etc. But since we have supervision, I think that should not be that much of a problem.
Thank you so much that you have accepted our invitation and coming to our platform and sharing your viewpoints regarding everything with your work, the skills which you have required, everything on the environment purposes and the incubation centers information. And also, you are providing a hand to India's development. I can say those persons who are feeling that they are not fully completed, you are providing the hand, and these hands are like the, I can say, a blessings for them, and those hands will become India's supportive in terms of the development and research in future prospect, and they will also say that we are this hand belongs to the Robo Bionics. You are like a god to them. So
Thank
seriously,
you.
you are working very good, and also all these students who just want to know much more regarding Llewellyn Sir's incubation center or the company's profile and the whole links. And if you find any person who is suffered from this problem, or he just want a prosthetic hand and that kind of a thing, you just go through the website. And also I am providing the LinkedIn's profile of Sir, so that you can directly contact him we required in the India's development. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And just like and share, and also share this video, because I can say one of the important videos in terms of the technical development aspect and the एक लड़के की कहानी जिसने सोचा कि वो ऐसा कर सकता है और उसने वो करके दिखाया, और आज वो लोगों की भलाई के लिए ही उसने ऐसा स्टार्टअप खड़ा किया है, तो उसे ज्यादा से ज्यादा सपोर्ट करें. थैंक यू एंड हैव अ नाइस डे.
Thank